Yeah, I wonder if you could comment on the different grounds that are available in some of these on the modeling software. For example, the quote mini neck ground versus the Sommerfeld ground versus the, of course, what's in NEC 4 versus NEC 2 codes and all that.
Okay, I'll tell you briefly. The first thing, the first answer to your question is this. On your screen, you should see my website, EZNEC.com. And if you go to that website and download the free EZNEC demo program, then once it starts up, you click Help and then Contents. Matter of fact, I will show you here. Let's see if I can do it. Are you guys still seeing my screen, or did I just kick it up?
Yep.
Okay.
But I guess certainly the issue which I kind of showed is when you're dealing with particularly vertical antennas and trying to model antenna radials, you get extremely different results in terms of the impedances and all.
You do. There we go. Okay. The demo program looks just the same as this. This is EZNEC Plus. The only difference in the demo program is that it limits you to 20 segments, which is just simple antennas. But the demo program has the whole manual for EZNEC for all versions from demo clear through the pro. And it's got a lot of useful information that you can also apply to other programs if you want. If you click Help and then Contents, that opens the online manual. And if you print this thing out, actually there's a printable form also that you can download from the web. I would recommend that if you want a printed one, that you do that instead of trying to print it out from this. But this has got all the hyperlinks and stuff. You'll see the hyperlinks all through here, and it's got a very good index. It's got search feature and so forth. But if you look here in building the model, and then modeling ground down here, and then it's got about ground models, like right there. And then it's got real ground types. This tells you all about the different ground types and what their limitations are and so forth. Okay, and then there's limitations of various real ground models. And that will answer your question probably way better than I can in a couple of minutes, although I'll very briefly tell you what the differences are. First of all, if there was a really good ground model in any program, you wouldn't need 3 different ones. So what you've got is you got 3 different ones. Each one's got its own twitches. The first one that I don't know if anybody else has put it in their program, or whether it's unique to EZNEC, but what I call a mini neck type ground.
Yeah, the 4NEC 2 includes a mini neck ground.
Okay, yeah, I first put that in EZNEC a long time ago. And what that does is it assumes that the ground is perfect when it goes to calculate the impedances and the currents. So if you had, for example, a dipole that's really close to the ground, a horizontal dipole really close to the ground, you'll find that its impedance is very low, and you'll have some outrageous kinds of gain. For example, you'll find some really funny stuff because it's acting just like it's placed over a perfectly conducting ground. So it's exactly the same as a perfectly conducting ground when it does those calculations. And so that's the first step that these programs do, is first they calculate the self and mutual impedances of all the segments relative to each other. And then they use that to calculate the currents in all of the segments of the wires. And then from the currents, it calculates the fields, and which gives you the gain. It gives you the field strength. And to calculate these fields, it adds a direct ray from the antenna to one that reflects off the ground. And this reflection off the ground is a kind of a complex calculation that depends on a lot of things. And so what the mini neck type ground does, it assumes the ground is perfect when it's doing the current and the impedance calculations, but then it uses realistic ground when it calculates the reflections. And what's this good for? What it's really good for is something like a vertical, for example, and you want to know the pattern of the vertical, just quarter wavelength ground mounted vertical, for example. You want it to know the pattern of it over realistic ground, but you don't want to bother modeling the ground plane, the radial system. So the mini-neck ground acts like a perfect zero loss ground system. It's like you had a whole mess of radials underneath the antenna. Typically the radials won't affect the pattern very much except for extremely high angles. So you've got a good representation then of a pattern of a vertical with a perfect ground system. You can also use that to compare it with the field you get from a vertical with 4 radials or 8 radials or however many you want to try to put, or various other kinds of ground systems. So that's what the mini-neck ground is useful for.
So is that named after Jay Rockway and Logan's software? Or
yes,
do they use that approach? Or
yes, it's because that is the way that Mini-neck did it. Mini-neck did not have the Norton-Sommerfeld ground, the more complicated ground model, which exists in NEC, which is a code that EZNEC and the other programs are now using. That's the way the Mini-neck did it. That was the only option in that program. And the real problem with Mini-neck ground is actually just fine for any model, so long as you don't have any horizontal wires lower than about a quarter wavelength or so, 0.2 to a quarter wavelength. The effect of ground on the antenna current drops off to an insignificant amount. But I recommend that people not use mini-neck ground unless they really need a direct connection to ground and they want to simulate a zero loss connection. If you try connecting a wire directly to what I call a high accuracy ground, I don't know what the other programs call it, NEC, it's Norton-Sommerfeld ground. If you try connecting it directly to one of those, then you end up with effective resistance that is unknown. There's no way of predicting what it will be. And so you will get some weird answers. Okay, so that's the 2 of them. And then of course you have a perfect ground, which uses a perfect ground for all of the calculations. And then there's the free space. Let me open, let's see, I think, yeah, 40 meter dipole. No, dipole, no, I'm sorry. Vert1. Vert1 is one of the example files that comes with EZNEC. And we've got an elevation plot over standard ground. It's really neat with this. You can take and very quickly compare the results of different kinds of grounds. And we're again, the ground system loss is completely out of the picture. We've got a perfectly efficient ground system loss. So the difference in antenna patterns with ground is simply going to be due to the reflection off of the ground, causing the different patterns. I'm going to save trace as X. And then what I'll do is I'll change the ground to the ground description from kind of average ground. Let's go to let's go to saltwater. Let's really get extreme. Okay, so then I'll plot that again. There's saltwater, and then I could take and add by save trace back on there. And there you have the vertical antenna over average ground, and here you have it with saltwater. And if you superimpose a quarter wavelength high dipole, you'll find that the quarter wavelength high dipole, even though it's radiating mostly straight up, it still outperforms the dipole over average ground at most elevation angles. And that kind of stuff you can see with the mini-neck ground. That's really handy. Now we've taken the ground system completely out of it. This is saying if we make our ground system just perfect, this is what we're going to get. And in fact, now if you do put a ground system in there that has some resistive loss, all it's going to do is going to shrink both of these patterns down in proportion, and they'll still have the same ratio. So it's the mini-amp ground is handy for that. Okay.
Okay.
Now, one caution though, for any of these grounds, NEC, which is the fundamental calculating engine that we all use, assumes that the ground is homogeneous to an infinite depth. That means if the conductivity is something or other on the surface, it's the same conductivity down to infinity. And it turns out that at HF, the current is flowing, you have significant current flowing for tens of feet below the surface. And so the resistance of the ground for that whole depth is important. And real ground is nowhere near homogeneous. It's stratified. You'll end up with various layers of all kinds of different conductivities and stuff. And therefore, if you ever have a problem that requires high accuracy that depends on the ground being some particular conductivity, you won't get it from these programs simply because of their assumption that the ground is homogeneous like that. They actually, somebody did make up a version of NEC, I understand, not too long ago that allowed you to put in different conductivities for different depths at several different depths. But my question then is, how do you go and measure them to know what to put in? And I've also found that just measuring surface conductivity over a city lot will give you 10-to-1 difference in conductivity very commonly. So all of those things conspire. This graph that I've got here on the screen can show you just generally what happens as the ground conductivity changes, but it won't tell you that my antenna in my backyard is going to look exactly like either one of those. The one over saltwater probably will. Saltwater is pretty reliable, but the ground, the real ground, you've got to take with a real grain of salt.